My name is Bob Pride. I'm a 1967 graduate of Tufts. I'm involved with Osher since 2006. I'm currently the vice chair of the executive board. I'm also involved with the book club and the history club and taking a number of classes. I joined Olli in 2006 when I was still working part-time. Classes were Monday and Friday, and I was working Wednesday and Thursday, so it was perfect for me. I started taking classes in January of 2006, and I've been taking classes ever since. I joined Olli in 2006, and I joined the curriculum committee in 2007. I also became the chair of the curriculum committee in 2011 and functioned in that role until about 2 years ago. And I've also been a study group leader. I've led a number of classes with other people, usually co-leading, with a classmate of mine from Tufts, actually. We did classes on the Civil War, the first technology war. We did one on third-party presidential candidates. I also did a couple of classes on what ifs in U.S. history or also in world history. I got into teaching partly because I was on the curriculum committee, and we're always looking for new study group leaders. I had never really taught except a couple of classes in my insurance career, but I've been a lifelong since I started taking classes. And after I graduated from Tufts, I took classes in computer science from Honeywell. I also started taking insurance classes since I worked for the insurance company. So those classes I took until probably the 80s. And then, as I said, I started taking classes at Tufts in 2006. I started teaching history classes because I was a political science major and might have even been a history major. That's where I took most of my related fields. So my first class was what ifs in American history. And then I did one in what ifs in world history. And as I said, then I started teaching classes with a classmate of mine who was also a political science major. And we taught various history classes. I think teaching it at Olli is worthwhile because you don't have to be a professor to be a teacher. Some of the best classes I've taken were music classes, which I'd never had a chance to do at Tufts as an undergraduate. And one of the instructors, the study group leader, if she had a question that was given to her that she couldn't answer, she'd say, "That's a great question. Why don't you research that and come back next week and we'll discuss it with the whole class." And that's really the way it is, because nobody should expect a study group leader to know everything about the subject. And we're all learning together. And that's really what makes it a lot of fun and enriching. In reality, there's two ways of learning in a study group. The study group leader learns an awful lot because of preparation for the class, as well as one of my instructors, one of my friends from Olli taught a class, and he realized that a couple of the people in the class knew a lot more about the subject than he did. So he was at first terrified, and then he realized that they would all learn an awful lot because, he was going at it as not as a professor, but as an interested party, and they were just sharing their knowledge. A lot of the grad students that we have really value teaching at Olli because of that. They realize that they have a lot of the academics down pat, but the experience on the field they don't really have. And so they learn a lot from the group as well. I've been involved with the clubs pretty much since I joined, although I think the book club I wasn't involved with at first until they were going to be reading a book about the great influenza. And I realized that since my grandfather had died in the influenza of 1919, I really should learn about this, and I really enjoyed that, and I've been a member ever since of the book club, and I think I joined the history club probably right away. And as I try to explain to people in the history club is we don't have a budget, we don't have people coming in to speak to us. It's our group, and we do all the presentations. Right now I'm working on a presentation on what if Teddy Roosevelt had been elected to a third term in 1912? How would that have affected World War I and the United States, because he was a progressive Republican, which you don't find anymore. And it wasn't that difficult to have to envision that it could have happened. And we also have been in the Dine Out Club, and that is a different group of people than probably the history club and the book club. There are some people that are in all, but not as many. And that's interesting to build a community sense that I think really makes Olli different than other adult learning or lifelong learning, because being in class together, like on Friday, I'm taking 2 classes and I have lunch and learn. learn between the two classes, right, all on campus. So there are people in the class that you get to know from being in classes together, and really has been an enriching experience from that standpoint. Well, it's interesting when people my age talk about retiring. Some men particularly are terrified that they won't have anything to do. But I had joined Olli while I was still working part-time, and I realized that it would be something that would be beneficial. I took classes in art and in music, which I never had a chance to do at Tufts. And then I settled more into history and classes like that I really do enjoy. Movie classes have been a lot of fun because you're watching a movie and then you're discussing what it means to you and how it impacted your idea of either that subject or those actors and actresses and whatever. But so I think it's a worthwhile experience, and it's a volunteer outfit that really needs volunteers. People give a lot of time and effort, the study group leaders particularly, because there's an awful lot of work involved, but it is so rewarding to learn the subject and then realize that people are enjoying what you're talking about. There are no tests and no papers, but it's just learning, and that's what it really is. I think the thing that some of the grad students like is if they're also TAs, they realize some of the classes their TAs do that people don't want to be there. Yeah. But in our classes, we do want to be there, and we are interested in what they have to bring to us. I'd say my favorite experience at Olli was when I was at the semi-annual, or I guess it's every 18-month conference they have. It was out in Colorado Springs, and talking to people from different Ollis, and there was a woman who was also involved with curriculum, and it turned out when I got to talk with her that she actually was a classmate of mine from Winchester High School, and I hadn't seen her in probably 35 or 40 years. So that was kind of interesting that we're, still learning after being in high school, and now it's 60 years since we graduated. And the other thing I really do enjoy is the people in the classes and in the clubs. You might not think that going to executive board meetings is that much fun, but actually you're talking to other people that are very much engaged in making the program as good as it can be. It's always fun to be talking to those people as well.